The Alex Bregman that Cubs fans have been waiting for has finally arrived. Trent Grisham has a big night for the Yankees, and Luis Castillo turns back the clock for the White Sox. We're taking you all around Major League Baseball. This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Appreciate you being here for this edition of MLB Game Night. Every game, every night. My name's John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. With me is Shukri Wrights of Locked On MLB and noted Yankee fan. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there, thanks to everydayers just like you. On today's show, Luis Castillo shoves for the first place White Sox. The Padres take hold of the second wild card spot in the National League. But first, let's start with the biggest game of the day. The biggest performance of the day has to be the 3 Breggy bombs from Alex Bregman. 7 RBIs on the day as the Cubs go double digits on the Nationals, 12-6 in our nation's capital. Let's hear from Sam Ober of Locked On Cubs to tell us all about this one.
Here come the Cubs. Do. 3 home runs for Alex Bregman. One of those home runs came about 3 minutes after the Brewers got swept in San Diego to give the Cubs a 4-1 lead. The second one blew the game open, and the third one was just the cherry on top. The best game, obviously, for Alex Bregman in his Cub career right now. If he could come along for the ride, this team might be unstoppable offensively. Wasn't a great day for the pitching staff, but the Nationals have a really good offense, so that's going to happen from time to time. It was a really good day. Big hit for Seiya. Dansby hit a home run. I can't even remember all of it. 12 runs for the Cubs. They lead the league in 10-plus run performances, and now they are just 3 games behind the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cubs are coming for the NL Central crown.
Woo-hoo-hoo! It's getting feisty in the NL Central. Shukri, before I turn it over to you, I just want to point this out. Per Sarah Langs of MLB, with Alex Bregman and Dansby Swanson, the Cubs are the 3rd team to have 2 players with a 3-homer night and a 7-plus RBI game in a season since RBIs became an official thing in 1920, joining 2025's New York Yankees Aaron Judge and Jason Dominguez, and the 1995 New York Yankees Mike Stanley and Paul O'Neill. We're 121 games in for the Cubbies. Did it take this long for Alex Bregman to arrive, and is he finally here? What do you say?
Yeah, he's finally here, and the Cubs are finally, getting the bang out of the buck for a player that they signed in free agency. And not only that, can you fly the W outside of Wrigley tonight? I'm sure that's the case. I'm certainly that was the case. And wish that this was a night to remember for Cub fans because of the fact that this was the guy that like when the Cubs signed in the offseason, a lot of expectations were heaped upon his shoulders. And when you talk about someone who, by the way, decided that he was going to go and look at the video and the replays and tweak a couple of things with his swing, and did it ever come at the right time? Holy smokes. We're talking about someone who had a hat trick in the nation's capital. And honestly, that swing never looked more beautiful other than hearing the song Go Cubs Go. But the Cubs, man, what a performance and what a game for Alex Bregman right at the perfect time.
And they're certainly thankful to the Padres for sweeping the Brewers in this 3-game set. Let's talk about a guy who had a career night, but not quite as many home runs, and that's Trent Grisham with his 9th career multi-homer game as the Yankees go 10-5 over the Mariners. Went deep off of Bryce Miller in the 5th. They evened up the game at 5 after trailing by 3. Then He hits a double off Gabe Spire, scores George Lombard Jr. The Yankees put up a 3-run seventh. Grisham added a 2-run homer off Nick Davila in the eighth and finishes with 4 RBIs out of the leadoff spot. That's another guy the Yankees didn't quite get the same version of Grisham this year as they got last year, but hey, if he's heating up right now, that could be a very good thing for your Yankees, Shukri.
Massive, because that was part of the reason why Brian Cashman decided that he was going to extend Grisham after the career year that he had. And look, I think also the part of the reason why tonight offensively the Yankees looked the way they did was you talk about Spencer Jones getting moved into the 3 spot. Holy smokes. This guy said, thank you for believing in me. So I want to reward your faith. Here it is, suckers. And that's basically what it was. That's exactly what it was. And you talk about considering that Spencer Jones has gotten a considerable run at the corner outfield spots. At this point, it's been absolutely beautiful to see him continue to grow. He's a rookie, a little newborn in the big leagues. But you talk about 2 doubles or 3 RBIs, and this is one heck of a night for Spencer Jones, for a guy who, as much as we want to talk about Trent Grisham, and rightfully so, you can't forget about Spencer Jones and his performance tonight in the 3-home.
Absolutely not. Speaking of Alex Bregman, a team that wishes they had Alex Bregman, that's the Red Sox, falling for the 5th straight consecutive loss, and they are swept by the Blue Jays 6-4 in favor of the Blue Jays. We got Gabby Maljaney with her response from Locked On Red Sox on what went wrong in this one.
Another failed late comeback attempt by the Red Sox. Is this ever going to end? The Red Sox fell 6-4 to the Toronto Blue Jays tonight, and they were on the cusp of coming back and winning this game again. Multiple times in the last several days, the Red Sox have come pouncing back in the 9th inning to make it an interesting game, but still continue to fall short. Pitching staff gave up 12 hits tonight. That's not a recipe for winning games. And the Red Sox have now lost their 5th game in a row. And the problem once again remains that they're pressing. Right now, these guys at the plate are trying too hard because they know they're in a losing slump and they know they have to turn it around. They have not been able to beat the Toronto Blue Jays this season. That's just a team that they cannot figure out. So they have to get out of this slump soon. But lots of things from tonight's game that were concerning, primarily, once again, not being able to generate a lot of offense until it was too late, and the pitching staff not exactly having it. So hopefully they can get out of this slump, but I am not happy about it because they tease me every time in the 9th inning, and they still are now looking at a 5-game deficit. So we'll see if they figure it out, but make sure you tune in to Locked On Red Sox on all podcast platforms.
We call that getting buttercupped in Anaheim because they used to play, "Why do you build me up, buttercup," at the 7th inning stretch, and then the Angels would lose. Okay, my bad. They do have one more game on Thursday, so the Red Sox do have a chance to salvage that series. Got to shout out my guy, Jose Soriano, went from the Angels to the Blue Jays, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. But Ronher Suarez was just as good. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 2 Ks. It all came down to the late innings when Cosmo Okamoto hit the go-ahead RBI single. Let me take you out to Sacramento. Again, the Rays win over the A's 8-4. The Rays have won 9 in a row. 15 hits for the Rays, including a 3-run home run for Liam Hicks, one of the best teams in baseball and the best team in the American League. Next, let's go out to Atlanta, where the Braves went 6-3 over the New York Mets and got a surprisingly good start from Tyler Mahle, who they acquired from the Giants. Unexpected, but very much needed. Let's hear from Jake Mastriani of Locked On Braves.
Let's come back to get the series win over the New York Mets, winning on Wednesday night 6-3. Braves get 3 homer runs, one by a couple left fielders, and Lane Thomas and Mike Yastrzemski, Austin Riley with a solo shot in there as well. The Braves have 6 runs on 12 hits. But the story here, once again, is the starting pitching that has just been really, really good for the Braves coming out of the break. Tyler Mahle, 6 more strong innings. He does prove human in a Braves uniform. He gives up a run this time, but just one on a solo shot, strikes out 7. Working with Sean Murphy again behind the plate. Thought they did a fantastic job of mixing up his pitches. So it's been a great run and 2 starts so far for Tyler Mahle with the Atlanta Braves. He is making Alex Anthopoulos look like a huge genius right now. Hopefully he'll be able to keep it up. But a great win, great job by the Atlanta Braves after dropping game 1 of the series, come back winning the next 2 to get a big series win. They're now 9.5 up on the Phillies in the division. We'll talk more about this one over on Locked On Braves.
Tyler Mahle, the epitome of a change of scenery guy, right, Shukri?
100%. And he's enjoying the benefit of being down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that sometimes the best move is the one that you don't necessarily make, or in this case, is a guy that you've just been waiting for. And here's the thing: there's been so much noise about the Braves and then get a frontline starter before the trade deadline, yada yada yada. But you talk about Tyler Mahle, he endeared himself to the fans and his new teammates. And considering that this was someone who came over from who was acquired from the San Francisco Giants, this is someone who stepped up in a huge way. You talk about another starter with a really good performance in recent stretch. This was it. This was someone that stepped up huge tonight. And here's what's crazy. Mahle has had 16 strikeouts in the first 12 innings he's completed over his 2 starts as an Atlanta Brave, and that is just really unbelievable for Mahle as part of an impressive stretch by Atlanta Brave starters in recent games.
Yeah, big brain moves by Alex Anthopoulos there in Atlanta for sure. Hey, we talk a lot about tarps off across Major League Baseball this year, but it's brooms out in San Diego. We're going to talk about that and much more coming right up. Hey, a big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited ad break. This back-to-school season, you can spend less on your kids, but still get them what they need with Amazon. We all know how crazy back-to-school shopping can be. It starts with a few items on the list. Suddenly you're shopping for supplies and the clothes you bought in June, your kiddos have outgrown in August. They need lunch gear, they need tech. The calculator costs more than anything in your shopping cart, and the math ain't mathin'. It adds up fast, and that's why we turn to Amazon. They've got what we need, even when your kid's definition of need for back-to-school shopping might be a little bit different than your definition of need. Either way, Amazon has what you need. So whether your kid made a back-to-school list or the teacher sent one home with your kiddo, or you have your own list, Amazon has what you're looking for at prices that are affordable. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids and get them what they want, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. Taking you all around Major League Baseball on MLB Game Night, let's take you down to beautiful, sunshiny San Diego, where the beer is flowing and the tacos are so delicious. The Padres, they've won 5 straight and are 15-19, and they move into the National League's second wild card spot, ahead of Arizona and ahead of Philadelphia. Dustin May versus Robbie Ray. Well, neither of those starters factored into this one, because this one went 11 innings. Jackson Merrill hit a game-tying sacrifice fly in the 11th. Luis Campusano followed with a 2-out single to bring home Sung Moon Song from second base. And that's despite a great start from Dustin May. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Robbie Ray, not as good. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 4 Ks. So the Brewers get swept by the Padres. Not at a great time as the Cubs are surging. We've got Chuck Freeman with his thoughts from Locked On Brewers.
I had to come outside to do this because I would have probably smashed a few of those bobbleheads tonight for the first time this season. A few of them would have bit the dust. Hey, everybody, Chuck Freeman, Rapid Reaction, Locked On Brewers. The Brewers didn't lose this game in the extra innings. They lost this game twofold. First of all, try to live on 3 hits through 8 innings and a 2-1 lead. That's not going to get you anywhere against a team like the Padres. So, I mean, once again, terrible offensive performance. Gary Sanchez, their best hitter today. When Gary Sanchez is your best hitter, you got problems.
I
Number
agree.
2, why aren't we using the A bullpen in the 8th inning? The A bullpen, McGill and Uribe, why are we going to Chad Patrick in the 8th inning? I had no problem Dustin May coming out for the 8th. Walked the leadoff guy. I had no problem with that because he was pitching great. But we're going to Patrick and then Ashby. But why aren't we going to Uribe and McGill there? I mean, is there something? I don't get that. I don't get that line of thinking, especially when you lost the first 2 games. This isn't a Saturday night with a 4-run lead against the Oakland A's or wherever they are. Pennant race we're talking about here. And we're getting to mid-August. We're going to talk about a lot of this tonight on the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
Ooh, some tough talk from Chuck, who, my friend from Wisconsin is usually in a great mood, but not tonight, Shukri.
Oh, no. Chuck, can I ask you a question? Would I have to come out to Milwaukee and grill you a nice like bratwurst or Italian sausage or something, because you spicier than the best Italian sausage. Like, I mean, goodness grief. I mean, I don't know what's worse, Gary Scary being your best hitter, or the fact that the Brewers, for some strange reason, offensively, they said, the bats don't need to travel. We can just stay home.
Mm-hmm.
What's the issue? We can hold up a 2-1 lead, right? No, you can't do that. And it doesn't help matters that the Padres, if they suddenly have swagger again. They just capped a 5-1 homestand, and then on top of that, like, I mean, my goodness. Here's the thing like that. That's the real kicker. The Padres, they just absolutely turned that 8th inning into an absolute gritty 8th inning rally. And, I mean, 2 outs, nobody on, and you talk about 3 straight excellent plate appearances by the Padres that the Brewers in, that was it. That was it right there. That was your ball game. That 8th inning is what did the Brewers in. Got to give credit to the Padres, though.
Yeah, and if you've ever been to a game at Petco Park, the vibes are immaculate, and the crowd is into every single pitch. And so if you give the Padres an inch, they'll take a mile, and that's certainly what they did in this game. Hey, out in Miami, the Marlins went 8-2 over the Pirates behind a great start from Jansen Junk. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned. Griffin Conine, that's a name we got to be talking about more here on
Good
game
point.
night. And Heriberto Hernandez, they both homer. Marlins win their 4th in a row. Conine reaches base 5 times in this one. So they run away with an 8-2 victory over the Pirates. Out in St. Louis, the Cardinals finished the series 7-1 over the Philadelphia Phillies. They get to Zach Wheeler, who's your ace, the guy you expect to carry you to a victory. Alec Burleson driving in 3 runs. And I'll let JD Haffron of Locked On Cardinals tell you more about this big win.
Another outstanding start by Kyle Leahy, and the Cardinals' offense gets the best of Zach Wheeler in a dominating victory over the Phillies. Hey, it's JD from Locked On Cardinals, and it was a pitcher's duel through the first 4 innings. But in the 5th inning, with the game tied 1-1, Cardinals get a leadoff single from, of all people, Cesar Prieto. Finally got a hit. He was 0 for the season in 2026. I think it was 0 for 27. Finally gets a single. He keeps the ball as he should. And that kind of got things going. The Cardinals get some 2-out magic from the top of the order. J.J. Weatherholt with a single. And then Ivan Herrera followed him up with an RBI single as well. Alec Burleson hits a 2-run double to the right center gap. Jordan Walker hits an RBI double. And then all of a sudden you're looking at a 5-1 ball game. And the Cardinals coast from there to a 7-1 victory. Kyle Leahy goes 5 innings, gives up 1 run, 6 hits. He strikes out 6. The Cardinals defense turns 2 more double plays. I think Chip said they turned 9 in this series against the Phillies, which is crazy. Jordan Walker had an incredible diving catch in right field. They stole a couple bases. They go 5 for 12 with runners in scoring position. The bullpen tosses 4 shutout innings. It all came together. It was pretty impressive in this final game of the series. That's a series win
also. By the way, they take 2 out of 3, which gives them 3 straight series wins as they go into a really tough stretch of ball games. They're going to play 11 games in 10 days on the road. They start in Chicago against the Cubs. Then they play 5 in 4 days in Cincinnati against the Reds before wrapping it up with 3 games in Philadelphia against these same Phillies. For the latest updates and info, be sure to keep it Locked On Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals certainly needed to win this series and gain some ground behind the Phillies, who they're chasing in that National League wild card. Shukri, of course, you're on The Fanatic talking about the Phillies. What are your thoughts from the Phillies side of things?
This is the thing that I will say that I am most disturbed about is the fact that right now you have another shaky outing from Zach Wheeler. That 4-1 fifth inning was one in which that not only did this team in, but also raises questions about Zach Wheeler in terms of where he currently is right now, in terms of the fact that the truth is that Zach Wheeler, he's definitely hasn't been himself. And the fact that mattered that offensively, the Phillies, they have certainly looked lackluster at times. And it's getting to a point where I sound like a broken record. Like offensively, you thought you would get a lot more last night to support Christopher Sanchez. Nope. Today, you thought you'd get a lot more to support Zach Wheeler. Nope. So not only is the starting pitching been so-so, but worst of all, the offense of the Philadelphia Phillies has been putrid. And here we are in mid-August, and we've gotten to a point where the Phillies have literally put themselves in this position where now it's going to be a dogfight from here to the last day of the regular season for that last wildcard spot, because the Phillies offense continues to be problematic.
Yeah, they keep sputtering, and it's not doing them any favors, especially their starting rotation. Let me take you out to San Francisco, where the Astros went 2-1 over the Giants. It was a bullpen game led by Steven Okert, who the bullpen just gave up the 1 run to the Giants, despite Adrian Hauser pitching very well for the Giants. Taylor Trammell smacked his first triple of the year off the brick wall in right field before Nick Allen sent him home with a go-ahead run off Keaton Winn. Josh Hader is in with the perfect 9th inning, 17th save, 17 for 17 in save situations this year for the Houston Astros. The Diamondbacks were climbing the ranks of the wild card. The Rockies said, hold my course, and they take a win 6-4 over the Diamondbacks. Let's hear from Paul Holden of Locked On Rockies about this win.
The Colorado Rockies got 2 massive home runs from Brett Sullivan, who helps the Rockies out with a huge 3-run shot early in the game. And then Zach Veen follows it up with his return to the big leagues, and he hits one into the pool against the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies survive. That's the best word to describe that win here in the finale, because that's what they did. The Rockies bullpen couldn't stop walking guys. A fine start for Ryan Feltner in this one. A little bit of damage, but certainly nothing that the Rockies couldn't handle, and actually left with the lead after that big home run there from Sullivan and Veen. But man, oh man, this bullpen. 10 walks allowed from the Rockies offense, in addition to the 11 hits allowed. That's a lot of base runners and a lot of bases loaded opportunities that the Diamondbacks had. Somehow, the Rockies held on, and they get a rare road series win, especially against the National League West. An ugly win is still a win, and we'll break it all down on Locked On Rockies.
Yeah, the Rockies won consecutive road games for the first time since June 1st and 2nd. So there you go, hanging on by a thread to take down their rivals in the NL West. Hey, coming up, Luis Castillo gives the White Sox exactly what they were looking for when they traded for him. We'll hear from Todd Welter of Locked On White Sox and talk about the rest of the games coming right up. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you think you know who's hitting a home run today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Super easy to play. All you have to do is make your free pick for who you think is going to hit a home run in their game. And if you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the rest of the season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. I'm taking Shohei off the Brewers. Brewers down on their luck. They're heading to LA. Shohei just hit one tonight, so let's go with Shohei again. I think that he could do it off of Shane Drone of the Brewers. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. So if you're ready to play your game today, join all the action on FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick for who's hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Let's take you out to Chicago, where the White Sox blanked the Reds 5-0 behind an electric Luis Castillo start, looking like the guy who pitched with those very same Reds years ago and looking like the guy who pitched with the Mariners early after that trade from the Reds to the Mariners. Was a stud on the mound. Let's hear from Todd Welter of Locked On White Sox.
Luis Castillo put on a dominant vintage performance against his former team. If he pitches like he did tonight down the stretch, then maybe Father Time is not catching up with the former All-Star pitcher. The White Sox blanked the Reds 5-0. There is something about throwing at right field that brings out the best in Castillo as he goes out, shuts out Cincinnati over 7 innings. He allowed just a hit, 2 walks, and struck out 10. And it's not like he got to pitch at 35th and Shields often, but when he has pitched on Chicago's South Side, he's been tough to hit off of. He entered the game tonight with a 2.50 ERA and 3 career starts at right field, where opponents hit just 194 off of him, and now he'll get to pitch there regularly. And the hope was when the Sox acquired him at the trade deadline, his changeup could be cleaned up and be used a bit more like in the past, because the feeling was it was not age being the main reason for a decline in his production, but him practically ditching his changeup. Well, he used his straight change a little more in this outing, 19% usage to be exact, and all against lefties, and he generated an 80% whiff rate on it. And that is why he looked like his old self that was an ace for so many seasons for the Reds. And fingers crossed, that is a hint that maybe Castillo is not washed. Drew Romo hit a solo home run and drove in another, while Chase Maedroth crushed a 2-run home run. And I'll have more on tomorrow's episode of Locked On White Sox.
Sometimes it just takes another set of eyes to look at somebody and go, hey, you know what? Let's ditch this. Let's correct that. That's exactly what the White Sox have been able to do with Luis Castillo after this outing, right, Shukri?
Massively and absolutely, and that's been the big difference. Where when I was watching on the game tonight, in terms of like between the Reds and White Sox, one of the things that I noticed was that straight change looked like it was out of the playbook of Johan Santana. If you remember, Johan Santana from way back when, in which like where another former ace who dominated the American League Central many years back. That's what Luis Castillo looked like. He had that four-seamer that was going out 96. He had that change that would just look absolutely disgusting. And this is the version of Luis Castillo that I remember fondly when he was with Cincinnati, and as well as the beginning of his tenure with the Seattle Mariners as well. And let me tell you something in conclusion. If they're going to get this version of Luis Castillo down the stretch between now and the end of the regular season, and should the White Sox hold on to the American League Central, holy smokes, what a get. What a get for general manager Chris Getz.
I see what you did there. Let's go. Castillo, man, could be really the ace of the staff and be the veteran leader that they need with all that young pitching. Let me take you out to Minnesota. The Twins go 7-5 over the Baltimore Orioles. Let's hear from CJ Baumgartner of Locked On Twins about this win.
Minnesota Twins win their first series in 2 weeks. Hey, that'll work with a 7-5 victory over the Baltimore Orioles, and just really big after a 1-run deficit followed by then a 3-run deficit for them to come back, not only to take the lead, but then to add on late and just give their pitching staff some much needed run support for Zebby Matthews and for the rest of the bullpen. Super big for them to get that win. And how about Alan Roden going 3 for 3 with a walk, couple doubles? I know everybody's been ragging on him, but I believe that those underlying numbers indicate that he has been a much better hitter than the slash line would indicate. And today was a good reason to show why that with consistent playing time, Alan Roden can be a useful part of this Twins team. So we are going to talk about it all. Locked on Twins. Big thing now. The Twins win. They win their first series in a couple weeks. And now it's down to Iowa for the Field of Dreams game tomorrow against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Ooh, that one's going to be a lot of fun. And the Twins just a half game back of the third wild card spot. Thank you to my Halos for knocking the Rangers down to that half game. Let's take you out to La La Land, my neck of the woods. Dodgers hosting the Royals. They sweep the Royals behind Eric Lauer. Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Hunter Fiducia all hit home runs. Fiducia's first home run as a Dodger. Eric Lauer goes 6 1/3. Landon Knack finishes the game, saves the bullpen 2 2/3. Scary moment for Freddie Freeman falling into the Royals' dugouts, fell down the stairs as he was trying to make a play, but stayed in the game, was pinch hit for later on. No updates yet on Freddie Freeman. But, Shukri, we know the Dodgers have been scuffling, but they sweep the Royals. Is this what's going to take to get them back in business, to beat up on a team who, to be fair, gave them a run for their money? They just couldn't complete the wins. Royals, of course, in last place in the Central. Kind of feels like what the Dodgers needed, right?
After that road trip that they just had, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, this was a bad road trip that they were coming off of. And I knew them coming home to play this series, the 3-game series against the Kansas City Royals. And, like, this was exactly what the doctor ordered. Like, let's face it, they had lost 8 of 9 coming into the series, and they needed a get-right series. This was it. So, for them, I thought that more than anything else, it was important to see guys like Mookie Betts get going offensively. Shohei Ohtani, you went deep and whatnot. And also, to see the performance from starting pitcher Eric Lauer, I thought that it was absolutely critical in this one. So you talk about the Dodgers needing a get-right series and for them to get back on track. This was it. Do I think this is going to be a start of them getting back on track? Yes, absolutely. It's part of the ebbs and flows of baseball, and especially of a long course of a long season. But this was the type of series in which that the Dodgers, they remembered exactly who they are and what they have been. And they have been a pretty solid team up and down for consistent over the last couple of years.
Yeah, trending up for the Dodgers. The Brewers are coming to town, so that should be a really interesting set of games coming up here at Dodger Stadium. Let's take you out to Detroit, where the Guardians went 6-4 over the Tigers. I'm going to let Justin Latta of Locked On Guardians tell you all about it.
Ooh. The Guardians finally broke their losing streak. They figured out how to out-hit their mistakes, at least for one game. Justin Latta here of Locked On Guardians. The Guardians get 2 runs in the first inning. They give 2 right back thanks to a Jose Ramirez error. But Foster Griffin overcame that, had a really good start, his second start for the Guardians. And the offense just really getting it done, mostly at the top of the order. Stephen Kwan continues to get on base. They drew a lot of walks against Framber Valdez, who has been a disappointment, I think, for the Tigers this year. Joe Adell, home run in back-to-back games. He's had a lot of success off of Framber Valdez, so that was really good. And Angel Martinez, the Guardian Angels. He had 3 hits and 2 doubles. Angel Henao had an RBI double, scored a run. Ironically, the worst player on the offense in this game was Jose Ramirez. Although he was 0 for 2 with 2 walks, so you'll take that. He also had an error in this game. The team still had a couple walks hit by pitch, and they got themselves in trouble by bringing Cade Smith in the 8th inning with 2 outs to get a 4-out save and over 30 pitches there. So they probably just cost him being available for Game 3 of this series. You're trying to win it. So we'll see what happens there. But the Guardians needed a win. They got to win, and they got to win on Thursday. Continue to fight the calendar as they continue to fight back into the playoff race. We'll have more on Locked On Guardians.
Shout out to my guy, Joe Adell, for being the team leader in home runs, considering he got 16 of those with the Angels this season. But, you know, I'm happy to see him having success with the Guardians, giving them the power that they need for sure. Yeah. Speaking of my Halos, worst team in baseball now tied for worst with the Sacramento A's. They go 5-2 over the Rangers, and it was a fun one, Shukri. George Clausen gets his first major league W. Somebody that, for those interested in prospects and young arms, George Clausen is one to pay attention to. Trout's first 3-hit night at home since about 2024, 2 RBI night. And then Big Ben Joyce, back from shoulder surgery, throwing gas, gets his first save since September of 2024, hitting 103 on the radar gun. Oof. We had some fun, and when your team stinks, it's nice to have a good night like this one. So I'm celebrating an Angels win as their farm system went from 28 to 23 to 14 per Baseball America. So brighter days ahead for my Halos, hopefully. All right, friends, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And be sure you come back and join the team for MLB Game Night, where it's every game, every night.